let me start with, I think we can start with our course outline. So this course outline, but I probably want to go over the slide version. I think that would be a better one. Okay. I hope you can see from the slide, or also this one is also uploaded on the Blackboard already, but you can check the Word version for this one. So this is the class. I think no one have entered the wrong room. It's DSME 510 IT, stat analysis. So the first trimester here. So I think all of you are the full-time student, if I'm correct. So some introduction about me. So I'm Qiu Yu. So I have been teaching stat for quite a while. Although my main research on theory, I recently do some empirical work, and I have been teaching statistics even before I get my PhD in US. And after I get a PhD in US, then I taught in Singapore, where I taught some financial economics and some econometric stuff. And then I come back, I teach statistics and econometrics. So I think for this should not be an issue. I also work on data, as I said, I work on data as well. I mainly work on R. I wrote some packages. And for Python, I also use it, but not that often. Also taught the undergrad statistics, which use Excel and R. So shouldn't be an issue. So my office is the CYT building, where most of us are staying. You can email me and later talk about the TA and the websites and the office hour. I guess because all of you are full-time students, and I guess the time is more flexible, but different schedule. And particularly this semester, I teach quite a few classes. So I guess it's better not to set a fixed time of office hour. If you need anything, just email me or the TA, and then staying a few times slot that you're available, then we can talk. But I guess Zoom will be more easy, right, in terms of traveling costs or whatever. Of course, the best way to handle your question would be you just ask right away in the class, right? But or email would be fine. So next, we'll talk about the TAs over there, maybe. So I guess previously you were also graduate from the program, yeah? So yeah, so he will know how to handle your life in CHK. I mean, hopefully you can ask because very fresh memory. And basically most of the assessment will be graded by him, except probably some of the projects. So if you have any question, we just direct to him. I think he will be able to answer that. And his office hour also by appointment, because I think he has quite a lot of class to handle. I guess that would be easiest to do a email appointment, right, rather than fixed hour. I think we are sitting on the same floor, the same building. Unfortunately today, I mean, our TA have to go to other class as well. So seeing how he's busy. Normally you don't expect to see the TA in the class, but if anything, you just email him. Okay, and if he's unable to handle, he will forward that to me, and then I'll handle. Okay. So probably try to talk about the course. I think this is a required class, so probably there's not too much choice you can make here, but I will try to tell you what is being covered here. So so this class is basically trying to use data analytical tools to try to answer some questions that you may be facing. And the topic we're trying to cover is not going to be mathematically deep, but rather we try to maximize the coverage. Later we'll talk about the textbook, but you can see we try to cover the very thick textbook in one semester. Usually you cover 2 semesters in other schools. But that being said, I noticed that you do a summer Python class, right? So I guess for the programming shouldn't be a big issue for you, right? So basically just try to understand how to apply those techniques, right? Because you just apply those packages, right? So what we need to do is just trying to tell you what kind of function, what kind of package you should use, right? Because everyone can apply the package, but you have to explain why this particular method is being used, what the limitations there, right? Everyone can do the package, right? And the problem is how you can interpret it and do it the right way. That would be the most important part, right? Because no one actually care how the black box is working, right? But you have to know why we use these tools, this black box, but not the other one, right? Because I think you get a degree from business school, right? So we have to explain in a business manner instead of you get a degree from engineering school where you can justify, say, trust my expertise, that's it, right? To explain to your boss why that's the case. So that would be the thing. So the topic you cover, as I said, same as the other class, other section by other professor, which will cover very big, wide range of topics. So we start today, actually, we talk about data wrangling, right? And we talk about how to handle data. That's the goal today. And then we will go on and do regression analysis and do some machine learning and do causal analysis. So the first one would be trying to collect data, clean the data, and get ready for analysis. And then, of course, other that we talk about some background or foundation for doing the analysis for the subsequent topics. And then we do regression analysis. And regression analysis, probably some of you may have known, is the way or the easiest way to analyze data, right? And usually what we want to study is cause and effect, right? And how they're related, right? There's a business thing, something we can observe. We are trying to look at some sample, right? And try to look at how things are related, right? And then tell us what to do, right? For example, right, you should maybe ask one common question in business or economics is try to understand how people's demand function, right? How much price you should go up or go down to maximize a profit, right? Probably there's a reason, very famous discussion on the internet or in the academic as well is the reason price cut by Tesla, a huge price cut for their cars, right? And probably want to understand why, right? But before that, actually you see Tesla did some experiment by playing around the prices over the last years. So probably they're able to, from the data, they're able to obtain the elasticity of demand, and that comes up with their eventual price. The second thing you often see in the IT world or daily life is look at how Google ran their stuff or how ad being presented when you surf the web, right? These things are actually a real-time data analysis, right? And it's basically cause and effect, right? And the next two is typically more advanced topics, which suppose you should spend a few more courses to go over, but we just give you a scratch the surface what should be done. Okay. We'll cover some machine learning techniques. I mean, you learn some package, why this one is being used but not the other, right? And at the end, we'll do some causal analysis, right? Because for the regression and machine learning, it's not as causal, it's more like correlation. It do not establish how exactly X affect Y, right? You would basically telling you they move together, right? But if you want to have a business decision, well informed, you need a causal, right? You run some experiment and this being done. Okay, have to be careful because you say X and Y goes together, right? But you may forget and omit the variable Z, right? So in order to make your analysis valid, you have to make sure that you do things carefully, that comes from the causal analysis. Okay, so that is the topic we cover, and what you would be expected to do is you do the projects in the groups, and this one is nice because you already formed some groups already. I mean, of course, you don't have to stick with this, but it means that it do mean some that you can form groups, and you will apply your technique you learn in the class to the project. So we really need you to get your hands dirty, try to collect data, okay? And I would expect you to try to collect the data from firsthand rather than download data from somewhere else, okay? Because we want you to involve from the beginning to the end. And you are working in a group, later I'll talk about more, in groups, so it should not be a big issue in terms of workload, right? Because you division of labor among your group. And of course, we'll give you practice questions and data exercise in our Python to make sure that you have the working knowledge of data analysis. Okay, this is a course description. Before I continue, is any question? No. So what would be the objective of this class? Okay. So we need you to have a good, effective communication of data analysis. This is especially important because you are getting a degree from B school. So you know how to present is one of the very important skills within business. And we are in the Asian education system, which usually do not have good training in presentation compared to other systems which focus on talking. So I guess in the B school here, we try to make that you present. So that's why I look at the course outline, then we have the second to last class, we will do a presentation. You will be presenting your project. And what we're doing is the skill that is transferable to outside the B school world. I mean, you can do, in case you switch to do some jobs in other business world, right? Do economics, you do public policy, that would be doable, right? Because I noticed, as I remember, many of your senior cohort or graduate, some of them actually work in the government as civil servant, right? So you know some public policy would be also a good thing. And we would expect you to, with these skills, you can apply in different contexts, right? And as I said, we focus on broad coverage, right? Not a particular tools you go to very deep. So, but at least you can tell in what kind of scenario, what kind of data you should get, what kind of analysis tools you should use, and you can present it in a nice way, effectively. So that would go, right? It's a one course, right? We cannot achieve too much, but I think this is modest goal. You can get it. And the next one is, right, you can also evaluate report by the others. Where in this world, there are too many report out there, and a lot of the fake or a lot are trying to mislead you. So hopefully after this class, you're able to know what kind of thing that you have to be careful when you read other people's report, right? What's not there, right? It's not the problem is usually people don't lie explicitly, right? They try to hide some information there. You should be able to read carefully between the lines and know what has been missing. So that would be the objective. Is there any question? You guys are pretty quiet, then I assume that will be okay. Okay, good. So attendance requirement. This is the requirement that are imposed by the faculty. So you have at least 70% of attendance. That means that if you have to miss the class, you have to let the TA know in advance, right? So with proof, okay. And later probably we'll figure out a way how to take attendance. I guess that there's some clickers, right? The thing to do it. Maybe I would talk with TA to see how we can do that. What's the best way to handle the sign up thing? Okay. Just to meet the requirement from the faculty, not from me. Just make sure that you have 70% of attendance. I guess the first class we don't take, but I assume everyone is there for the first class. But I guess after the agile period, we have to do the calculation, right? I think there's now still agile period right now. Am I right? Yeah. So this is textbook used in our section, also in the other section. So with the same textbook, same coverage. So this textbook is pretty recent, and it's not too technical, and it's a broad coverage, and you focus on how you actually do analysis instead of the econometric background. So the instructor of the other section and me think this is the good textbook to follow, at least for this year. I mean, of course, if you think that you have some comment, you let us know. But I mean, this is our class is not a deep thing, right? So we just say much more broad coverage of tools. So in case you don't like this book, I mean, you can also consult any other book. This should be fine. And the coverage will be based on our slides, right? If you preparing yourself for the assignment or the test or assessment, then I think most of the book will be fine. Okay. So here's the breakdown of the assessment. As you can see, we have individual assignment, later be graded by our grade TA. And then group project, later you see 20% is important because our class focus on application. So the group project have a good amount of the element there to show its significance. And continuous assessment, we'll talk about later, but there's only 10%. And the rest will be 40%. So we go one by one. So the assignment, I think same for every class. And then you submit your assignment on to the blackboard. If you use computer, you can just submit the PDF. If you use the handwriting, make sure you write nicely. Otherwise, our TA will have it. You just take a picture and just put it on the blackboard. So that would be the standard thing. Just put there is because of with the rule that the assignment will grade return to you within 2 to 4 weeks. Okay, that is the and because of now it's in the blackboard, it's graded in the blackboard, so you can see how it's being graded. If you have any question about the grading, then you can ask. As we have said, the main thing is the group project. So the individual assignment will be graded mostly by series completion, right? So if you complete, even though you make mistake, you still get most of the mark. Well, we take away some of the mark if we don't know what you're doing, or I mean, it's obviously you're off the mark, but most of the time, if you done in a serious manner, I mean, you should be able to expect to get most of the marks. Of course, we have to reward some of the good work, but otherwise, if you do nicely and you do a submitting on time, that's not be easy. Okay, but do note that, I mean, no late submission. Okay. Okay, if late submission, we can't help. Okay, but just submit whatever you have. You do it nicely, then it's good. Okay. We try to make the individual assignment not too a lot, so that makes sure that you focus yourself on the group project. Okay, so we just try to make sure that you just work out a little bit. Okay, to make sure that you know what you don't know. That's important, right? You think you know, but if you work, you notice you don't know things. As I said, one of the important parts is group projects. So we will ask you to form a group of 4 to 6 students. Probably I will try to collect names by the end of this month. I guess that should be enough time for you to form a group. 4 to 6 students, because I think now we have 38 students. I mean, 4 to 6 will be fine. In case we have less than 4, probably I would reserve the right to put you in some of the groups. Okay, I mean, because if 3 may be okay, but 2 probably not, right? Because the work is too much for you to handle, right? Because we're asking you to collect the data, right? And then you analyze the data and prepare the report. Okay, and that would be the group project. Probably we'll talk about that later. After you form the group, then we'll talk about those. So don't worry, just apply. It's just a much longer assignment. So I will put the page limit so that you don't overwork. Okay. So I will put the upper bound on what you can do. Okay. So that you would not spend too much time on that and spend appropriate time on this. Okay. Because these days too much involution goes on. So that's why I want to make sure that you don't over compete. Okay. Okay. And the page limit will be proportional to your group size. Okay. Probably I'm thinking about, we will talk about later, but probably maybe 2 to 3 pages per person. So suppose you have 4 person, then page limit is 12, and someone it's page upper bound. Okay, it's not lower bound. Okay, but I will talk. I think carefully about what to do once I see the group size, and then what to do. Okay, but try to make sure everything's manageable, right? Because you don't just take this class, other class as well. So make sure that everything is all right. So the group project presentation will be within the second last class. Okay, you'll be part of. You'll be divided in 3 parts. Your presentation. Okay, to be fair, I will evaluate that, right? And then it depends on your classmate how you evaluate. Okay. And then it will be I evaluate, or maybe the TA also involved as well. If I can't tell, that will be do the written report. Okay. So all is done in the business setting. So in the case that you can't convince me on the first few pages, then you lose me. Same presentation. If you cannot convince me in the first 3 to 5 minutes in the presentation, then you're really off. So make sure that you have present in the way that is acceptable and effective. And let's see. And then I will adjust your grade based on the size of group. And usually I assume there's no free riding within the group. Okay. If there's everyone complain you and they provide document, you always not replying to WeChat message or so on and so forth, then probably I would investigate and make some adjustment. Okay. So to be able to handle this. The group project, I think you submit the one, I think 1 week, 10 days after your presentation. Again, it's trying to prevent you to overwork. So I just make it 10 days after that. The main thing is trying to make sure that you properly document all your things. Okay. Because the report I asked you to do is page limit. So you're the present. So if you convince me already, then the reports, you just reiterate that. You don't really need to be spend too much time, but rather you just spend a lot of time, make sure that your document is documented nicely, because that is the tools. There's a good practice to make sure that everything is done correctly. Okay, make sure that your file system, your files, your data are well documented, because this is very important things when you work. Okay, because for others to follow and for you, the future self, to follow as well. Okay, and again, no late submission. Okay. So I'm not your father and mother. I'm not going to email you if you don't submit. If gone, it's gone. Okay. I'm not trying to email you, hey, you have to submit this. Okay. You have to manage yourself. The deadline will be there on the blackboard. If you don't submit, then yeah, and that's gone. Okay. One of the reasons is because we have to submit your grade by, I think it's by the middle of December. So you have to, we have to respect the deadline. Okay. And lastly, there will be some continuous assessment. We are planning to do 4 in-class quizzes. The quizzes will be just trying to ask you to, I think, most likely multiple choice. Just put in a blackboard, just do it. Maybe during some breaks, or I may give you some 10 to 15 minutes to work on it. Try to make sure that you understand what's going on, and you don't have to get it all correct. So as long as it's more than 50%, you get the full score. You also got the participation mark for 1 CA point for completing the quiz. No makeup. And as long as you get 10 CA points, then you get the 10% full. Okay. Other than that, you can also you get more CA points by contributing to class, answering questions, so on and so forth. Right. And then so just to make sure that you participate. Is that okay? Okay. The last one is the test. It's open notes and books. I don't know. I mean, usually people think I should open iPad or laptop, but I don't know. There would be some concern about cheating, so I have to figure out whether there's a way to prevent that happen before I allow that. In the current version, I only allow you to bring the physical thing. Whether you can bring laptop or what, have to figure out because I don't know how to jam the Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, right? Otherwise, you can type the answer and then send to the other, right? Because AirDrop or sharing. So not sure what to do at the moment. Probably I have to ask other people how to do it because I think some of the last year I make a class open book, open note, and open laptop, and then some people cheat. That makes but eventually, I mean, some people report that may be cheating. Then I have to make the exam no laptop and desktop. So I have to figure out what to do. But yeah, because you say maybe every one of you have a laptop, right? No one print the thing out. So for the environment's sake, that would be easier. But to figure out that, I'll let you know whether you can bring your laptop or the iPad to the exam. Okay. So I know maybe you can check with. Do you do that? Okay. I will talk with the TA then see if he's comfortable with that. Okay. Otherwise, if that's okay, then should be fine. But otherwise, we'll figure out that. Okay, we'll figure out that later. It's too early to think, but we try to cover everything in the class, including all the slides and some OWL. Okay, so basically, just everything in the slide that will be sufficient for the purpose if you understand what's going on there. Okay. So it will be on the last Friday of our class, the last class. Tentatively is 2.5 hours, but I'm thinking that it might be too long for you, maybe 2 hours, 1.5, depends on. I will talk about TA, then what should be done there. Okay, but that will be the last thing. Is there any question? This is the assessment. I mean, of course, we can change it. It's not I declare what, but we can discuss. If you think that there's something we can talk. I mean, especially the laptop and iPad thing. I mean, probably we can figure that out because I see some of you feel uncomfortable without using the laptop and iPad. But I have to figure out the way that make sure that you don't. I mean, it's fair, right? To me, it doesn't really matter, but I mean, fairness. I mean, it's fun for you, right? Because I don't really care who get A minus or B plus, right? Because same, but right. But if someone study a lot and don't get the grade they deserve, there is very problematic, right? But otherwise, I I'll talk to TA to how to figure that out. Okay. I would also, because I would talk see how other class being done. Okay. So this is standard thing. It's not my policy. It's a policy from the faculty where we don't allow you to make up unless you have special reason to absent from the exam, right? Or we can't really have the exam being done, right? Especially we have the typhoon, right? But I guess in December, only for the past 40 years, only 3 typhoons actually hit Hong Kong. So I don't think we have a lucky day. So this should be fine. So this one is honesty and plagiarism. I just put there because it has to be there for every other course. So especially for this class, we have a project element. So make sure that you would be honest and do not plagiarize. Okay, especially you do a group project, right? Everyone's liable for that. And I don't think we have a AI policy formally. I don't think I received anything, but my thinking would be if it's AI, I can't really see whether you use AI or not. But if the AI is wrong, make up some reference, make up something, and we figure that out, then you'll be liable for that, right? I would not say you are cheating, but I would say you get a mistake, then you mistake, right? You cannot claim. Use AI, I find it wrong, then you say, okay, it's AI problem. You write it down, it's your problem, same as other tools you use. Okay, you can use AI. I think AI is very useful, right? And especially your report, if you use AI to polish your English, to make our life easier, right? I guess none of you are having you use English as your first language, right? So English to us is a little bit foreign. So it's good to use AI or whatever mean to improve your exposition in your project. Probably you don't need for that for assignment, but the project probably you need to make it look nicer. This is important is you have to make sure that your assignment is submitted through the very guide. This is a standard thing. Okay, and same honesty and thing. I'm not going to go over one by one. So this is the standard for every other class. And you submit the declaration for that. I think when you submit the blackboard, I think it's already there. Okay, and final remark, but let's say bye-bye to our TA. Yeah, and this one I simply following what advice has been given from other instructor from the similar section. So because the main thing is our class is trying to cover a lot. As I said, we try to cover material that is being covered 2 courses in other school. Okay, so we cover a lot. It's not difficult, but maybe we have to go fast, right? So I would advise you to read the slides. If you don't read the book, at least read the slides. At least you try to understand, you prepare mentally yourself what kind of topic we are covering, what kind of keyword is being there. At least you know some prepare yourself. Okay, I think the textbook is or the slides is rather friendly, not math involved. So even though you do not learn statistics before, you should not be a big issue. And then in the class, because no one print out the slides anyway, so dropping notes will be easy, right? If you don't understand, then we can highlight it. You can ask me during the break. And after that, post class, then probably you should, if you don't understand, look at the book, look at the internet, because AI now can easily ask questions, and should be fine, right? Or I don't know. Usually you can informally form a WeChat group. Probably you might have already, right? You can ask questions each other, right? That would be a very useful tools. Some final remark is very luckily we got support from datacam.com, which is a very useful online learning portal. Usually they charge you $38 US dollar per month, but since we have applied for the educator program, so we got this for free for 6 months. So it's like several thousand Hong Kong dollars for free. So you can use it 3 months even after the class. So in that website, you have all learning thing for the Python or R or many other things. It's very interactive. I find it very useful. So I even learned something from there when I try to learn stuff. So I recommend you to do it. I think you got the email from this one, right? Everyone got the email from that one, right? So try to go for it. It's completely free. You should try to use it to improve your data software skills. Okay, it's not compulsory, just for you to learn. I highly recommend that because really hand-on. And the problem is we cover so much stuff in our course, so we have left very little time for doing programming. Okay, so I recommend you to work on those because this online portal is actually you need to really work out the code, the past. It's not just simply watching the video. It actually asks you to write down the code and then run it on the cloud and come back to tell you whether you do it right or wrong. So I find it very useful. So I highly recommend that. So here is I try to for the remaining 5 minutes before the break, I try to briefly go over what we're going to do. So this is today, what we're going to do is talking about how we collect data and how we store the data, how to clean the data. This is the most important part, right? Because you do the project, which I asked you to collect data as well. So this is important. You have to get a good habit of collecting data and clean data in the right way. Otherwise, it is a problem. Usually when you work outside, usually this company will have a standard procedure to collect data, store data. That should be fine. But for your own analysis, probably you have to figure that out. Right? If you work on startup, probably they also don't have the procedure for that. You have to figure out that in your own way. Okay. This is the first week. The next week will be next Friday, but not this one. I mean, we will start doing some data analysis. Okay, try to look at some pyramid analysis, doing some correlation, try to see how variables are related, right? Because the main goal of data analysis is look at how variables are related, right? So that would be the next week, right? And the week 3 will be quickly go to much more deeper, right? We're trying to look at using data to form hypothesis, all right? To test, to use data to tell us whether what we think is correct or not, right? So say, for example, the question would be, just going back to Tesla. The price cut, is it going to improve the profit of Tesla? Right? There's one legitimate question, right? You have Elon Musk ask this question, right? And this question is not straightforward. Probably you will say, okay, why we have to ask this question, right? Because, well, look at how much profit they make before and after, you know what's going on, right? But you have to remember the world is changing, right? The economy is changing, consumer is changing, right? The competitor is changing. So in order to see whether price cut actually is the right thing to do, it's not that easy, right? Because you have to compare to the counterfactual where the price is not cut. Where is the data is needed to make this judgment? Okay, so that is the idea behind is week 3. And week 4 is going to become more deeper to build a model, look at the regression. Okay. And these were the main tools for statistics. Usually you stop there, right? If you are doing an ordinary master level stat class, you stop in the week 4 and that's it. Okay. But we are not ordinary stat class, so we'll go to much more deeper. Okay. We'll go into taking a little bit deeper, look at the prediction, look at multiple regression, look at various things in the week 5, say, and this will be week 6. Week 6, we talk about how to much more different thing is modeling probability and time series. Okay. Why do we need to model probability? I have said we talk about the Tesla thing is a profit, you care, right? But sometimes the variable you care is just 0 or 1, whether you buy the car or not buy the car, right? Whether you do things or not do things, that require modeling probability. And the next one is time series analysis. We talk about this later, but time series analysis, the data is a time stamped. You have an observation of an object over time, and because of the time dependency, you need different tools. And this time series data, usually you will see in the macroeconomic analysis or financial data analysis. But of course, with big data, also you apply to personal data, right? Suppose you are the internet platform, they observe me doing things on, say, YouTube or Google or whatever website. They have a continuous observation of me, right? And what I do today related to what I do yesterday, right? That is what they do, right? Look at the YouTube platform, right? You try to look at this type of video, and then they will try to send you the video that you watch, right? Try to keep pushing the video related. How to do it? Time series analysis. Okay? And that would be the thing that will be done. And then 8 onward, you can see is a LISO or whatever is related to the machine learning. When you do prediction, that is where the machine learning comes from. Okay. And then we will continue to do regression tree and random forest. Probably you don't know the big terms, but we'll make clear when the semester progress. And then final 2 weeks, we'll talk about causal inference. As I said, you really want to establish how things are related in reality, right? Because even big data cannot discover whether the causal impact, right? Because you want to make a business decision, so you want to isolate things that you can't observe, right? Because very often we can't observe everything. Even big data will be missing a lot of stuff, right? But those missing things actually can drive things that behind. So you really want to discover, then you really need to do a causal analysis. This will cover, we'll use the panel data or causal analysis to handle this. Get this week 11. And week 12, as I said, is your group presentation. Okay. And then week 13 will be your test. As I said, I will let you know whether you can bring the laptop. I mean, or probably you should assume we can do it, but I don't know whether what kind of thing with the impose to make sure that you can do it. Okay. This appendix, just very quickly. So this is a textbook, and these are the things covered. I don't think I want to cover this because I put it there because in case the data set, if you read the book, that the data set, that the code that are available, you want to take a look on those. I don't want to take more time. So this will be the course introduction. And if you don't have any question, yes, please. Yeah, please. Oh yeah. We don't put any restriction on what you do for your projects or your assignment. The only thing is since if we cover R or Python in the class, then some of the question, the assignment or the or the test, we will include those. But since you have studied Python in the summer, so probably I would we used to do not be a big issue, even you understand that. But I mean, you can use whatever tools to analyze your group project or assign. Any further question? Yes, please. Oh, you don't? Okay. So you can't really okay, you don't say anything. So then I will put the link. So what kind of email you have? Okay, personal email. Then I will put the link there, you can sign up. Okay, I'll put the link there, then you can click on the link and sign up. So none of you have the email from the CHK? Okay. Sorry, I didn't know that because the first time I taught the master here. Okay, but I handle that. Okay, if I don't solve it today, then let me know. I put it on. Okay. Any question? Any more question? If no, then have a break of 15 minutes. We will resume at 10:45. Okay. Yeah, have a break. I'll walk around to see if any question you might have.所以你们是没有电邮的吗？不是有个 link.chk 他们还没有还是还没有？哦，OK，因为有些人 sign up for that，sign up for data camp 所以你们没有电邮，你们碰经理的。OK，你们知道什么时候会有的？OK，我帮你们问一下那个什么情况，什么时候有那个电邮？因为有电邮还是比较方便，因为那个 data camp 的主任那个 CHK 的东西比较麻烦，因为他是给我们 CHK 的学生的。我是问的时候，在你们班有人我是问的，其他班没有的，所以我就不能随便 share 出去了。如果他要有的话，他要去申请。应该跟 assignment 差不多吧？就是我当时你看 assignment 怎么样的大概怎么样？哦，应该是有解答题，这应该有解答题吧？平时 assignment 差不多。你做 assignment 的，你可以做 assignment 应该就会做。对，当然 assignment 可能会 A B C D 咁，那么考试可能就 A B C D 就组合在一起这样子，就是综合一下问题了。就可能是就是 assignment 问这个问题，assignment 2问这个问题，可能就一起问那个。对，应该没有什么特别大问题，就是看看你们的了解而已。我觉得你看 textbook 里面的问题还差不多，不会很对。没有，我们重大的不是按照分布的，按照你有没有达到那个水平，所以就看之前的上一届大概可以看现在的人考怎么样啊，看你们的表现怎么样啊，大概是有一个一定的算法，没有个固定的东西，而且从来都不服从正态分布的吧，对吧？因为它是一般来说硕士班都是那个比较好的都在那边，对吧？它是大量的在前面的。那我们没有按照正态分布，对，因为一般来说我的理解都是有1/3左右的人都是 A 的 range，对吧？然后都是其他人可能都是 B plus B 的 range，对，大概是这个情况。我现在也一起教这个 top master，所以我也不是很100%可以告诉你什么情况。 那这个好好的啦，就是Hi. Some of you asked me to remind you that the data cam email may be in your spam folder. So you should check whether it's in the spam. Okay. Yeah, that's the only thing. Yeah. Continue to have a break. Hi. During the break, many of you, at least some of you, are expressing some concern about the test, about the coding thing. I mean, well, coding will only appear in the exam or the test only if I cover it, right? If I'm not covered, I'm not going to talk about those. So then I'm not sure actually we have time to cover those, but I try to. We try to cover those. And we are not asking you to write a big software. Probably we'll be asking to write one line of code, or I give you one of the code, you tell me what it is. So that would be a simple question, because the main thing is not coding that should be assessed from the project, but rather we are trying to ask you how you can apply, right? So that would be the goal, right? So they're not asking you to do the program, right? So the remaining 2 hours, what we're going to do is cover the first 2 chapters, okay, of the textbook, okay, or the slides. I upload the publisher slides. The publisher slide is very good at summarizing the textbook, okay. And if you read the slide, you understand, you can go to the textbook, okay. But I often found his slide is still too wordy, okay. I mean, it's good if I cover one chapter per class, which is the intention, but we are not having this time luxury, so we have to cover 2 chapters for 1 class. So we have to take most important point from that slide. So that is the slide you see here. Okay. So if you find anything is not clear, you can go to the publisher slide. Okay. And then if you find the publisher slide not clear, go to the textbook. If you still don't clear, go to TA. If TA doesn't clear, go to me. Okay. Of course, the best thing is to ask in the class. Okay. I'm not 100% sure I would be able to answer all the questions right away because this new textbook. So in any case, I can't answer it correctly. I will tell you I don't know how to check, but otherwise, for the first 2 classes, it shouldn't be an issue. It's very straightforward. So today's goal, okay, is as the syllabus said, right? We try to tell you how the data collection and how to clean the data. So these 2 are important. You would need them for your when you do your project. Okay, and that will be chapter 1 and 2 of the textbook. So the last 2 bullet points are basically the main thing of chapter 1, chapter 2, right? How to collect data, how to assess the quality, and then how to manage and clean the data. Okay, so that will be the goal today. Before I start, any question? So my section and that parallel section, we will try to follow closely the textbook as closely as possible so that when you look at the textbook, you can easily follow. Okay, we'll see how it goes for this year. Okay, next year can be different, but anyway, it's not relevant to your case. But we're trying to improve because we are this relatively new way to handle. Because I think before that they only do Excel. Now we're switched to Python and R. So slightly different from the previous years. So chapter 1, origin of data. Okay. So what's data? Okay, and I think to most of us, the easiest thing to look at data is look at Excel spreadsheet. All right, Excel spreadsheet consists, maybe it's an open one, right? So it will be easier to think. Excel spreadsheet. You go to business world. That is the thing you do, right? Excel will be the thing. And probably some of you will ask, okay, why I still talk about Excel? Right? Probably recently, last week, Microsoft announced that they will incorporate Python into Excel. So I think once you graduate, a year later, you can put Python code here. So that explains why we need Python. Probably Excel, the underlying language is V.B.A, right? Visual Basic Language. But now they take it out because it's too slow. So Python is there. Okay. And probably Python, there are many packages, for example, Excel Wings, that can control Excel directly. And when you go to business world, Excel is still the one that you often see as well. So the integration of Excel and Python will be the future. So, and of course, R will be the same, right? So R, Python, Excel will be well connected. One of the reasons is that the package in the Python related to data analysis is very similar to the R. So once you learn, say, the Panda package, once you learn the R package to able to do the Python thing, and that would be there. And still, I think R is the easier way to handle data. Okay, if you just handle data, right? But of course, if you do more general purpose, then Python will be good. But anyway, I don't see too much difference, except R is more lenient when you're programming mistake. Python is very strict, always report mistake, error. Probably you have experience in the summer. Okay? That is what I know. But data table, okay, or data is the easiest to understand by looking at the Excel, right? So basically, you have a rows and columns, right? And there are multiple sheets there, right? So that would be the way that we store data. Okay. So that is what the slide said, right? It's a matrix, okay? And the way we do is the row is often we call observation, right? Each row is one observation, and columns are the variables, which we give more example later, but that would be the way we store. Okay, and the way we store the probably the most memory saving file type is called CSV. It's comma delimit, right? You have each row is one line, and each column is separated by a comma. Okay, so that would be the case. And you can if you go to Excel, Excel, right? So suppose I do Excel now, but suppose I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, right? So this is the data I have, suppose. Okay, maybe even better. I do it this way, right? Usually the data will look like this, right? Maybe this is student, right? Maybe student, Mr. Chen and Mr. Zhang, okay? And this quiz 1, quiz 2, right? So this is the data I have at the end of the semester, right? Here you can see each row is an observation, and each column will be the data, right? And if I try to save the file, by default, right? This will be the Excel file, right? The Excel file is a very complicated thing, but usually we would, for large data purpose, we would save it using the CSV. Okay, here, go to CSV. You can see the CSV here. There are many types of CSV, UTF-8 or the CSV Microsoft Macintosh, but usually UTF-8 would be the best. Okay, so there would be the case. If I save it, okay, and then let me try to open that here. So it's a CSV file, and if you try to open with I don't know, let me choose the notepad. Okay. You can see the data like this, right? The first column, right? The column by column is the variable, right? The row is each row. Okay, so this is the way that it's stored, and most data is stored in this way. This way is good is because it can be ready read by R or Python very quickly. Okay, and the thing some people mention data. Actually, data is not very good at storing things. You have to because data, the file, the DTA file, is very big. But compared to usually 2 times larger. So it's better to store your data in CSV version. Okay, and that is standard. I mean, you try to download data from the web, usually is this kind of style because they save space. Okay, and this is called data table, right? And usually you would have more than one data table, right? So maybe this one, this is the quiz table, right? And one tab. Another one, we will have maybe the exam or project, so on and so forth, right? And then save in one Excel file. This is standard way you do in many cases in business setting, right? So also similar to what we are seeing in the slides, okay? So here is other than the comma delimit, sometimes you have used the semicolon or other thing. One of the reason why data is stored in this way is because sometimes it depends whether comma appear in your data a lot, right? They use comma delimit because of comma is often not appear in your data, right? Your data is number, right? But your data is a text file, then comma delimit can be a little bit problematic, right? Sometimes you use a semicolon or some other weird symbol, also fine. But anyway, that is the data. We define the data. Okay. Now, the different type of structure of the data structure. We mentioned this is because different type of data actually imply we'll use different tools. So the first point here is what kind of tools you're using, depending on what kind of data you have. So I hope you remember in this. We will face different type of data, and for example, most common type is cross-section, which means that we have many observations. We observe once, right? And there is a lot of survey is done in this way, right? And time series data, again, it will be more often we look at the macro data or financial time series. That will be the thing. And the most often right now these days is called the panel data or multi-dimensional data. Is we have many people, we observe over time. So panel data is the one that usually you observe and usually work on. And it's most complicated. There are a lot of things going on there. In order to do the right regression, the right analysis, we need a lot of tools. We'll talk about this at the very end of the course, okay? Because we start from the beginning, okay? Assuming that everything not there, okay? Okay. So because these three types means there's some dependence, right? Because cross-section, the dependence of between units, right? Because say you observe things today, they are affected by the same event happened today, right? So suppose you collect data of today, then probably you'll be affected by, say, the typhoon these days. Right? Everyone got affected. So it's related in some sense, right? The time series that related over time, as I mentioned beginning, right? So what I do today is affected by what I do yesterday, some history dependence. And multidimensional is combined the two, right? So in our basic analysis, I think up to week 10, we assume all these are gone. All observations are independent, okay? So that means make our life easier, okay? And this would be okay if the dependence are a lot, right? If you imagine that the typhoon thing affecting all of us strongly, then what you are doing have to be very careful. So at the beginning, we assume all these are gone, so make our life easier, okay? So just to telling you that you have to be very careful about what kind of data you're collecting, okay? Any question? Okay. And here, because this textbook is a case-based approach, so I just use the case, and I think you should read the textbook if you want to know more of the case, but I think the slide will be sufficient, okay? So here we have a hotel data, okay? I think they collect from Expedia, or I don't know which website they are doing. So what they do is answer the question, as you see, is when you go for vacation, it's like look for the hotel, which is the most, the best deal, right? Not the cheapest, right? You want to find some good hotel. You want to enjoy a holiday, okay? And the data is on Austria, and this is called hotel data set. This data set is available online because you go to the more publisher website. You can download the data. They tell you how they clean the data, from the raw data to the clean data, or the program there. From there, you can learn how they do things. Okay. I think they have the Python code, they have the R code, and the data code. So no matter what you do, it should be fine. They don't have the Excel code, unfortunately. So they have price comparison website, and they have one day have 400 data points. Okay. And each hotel, they have data on where the hotel is, what's the price, what's the consumer rating, how many stars, how distant to the center. Okay. So this is a data structure. This is called data table, because you can see this exactly the Excel table, right? So this is what we call the data they work on. Is horizontally, each row is observation, right? And each column is a variable or features, right? And you can see they have a hotel ID and its hotel name, and because of they want to be anomalized, so that's why they use hotel ID. And type of accommodation, city, and the city actual. I think the book said they have city actual because the city data is not very clean, so they have to make sure that it's clean up. It's called city actual. It's a clean up data. And this is distance to the center, what a star they have, what the rating by the consumer, or the price. Okay. Is that okay? I think they've written why the city and city actual. City is based on search, and city actual is based on exactly where the location, the hotel is, right? Because you search this location, they actually tell you much further, right? But for example, I think you go to the hotel website, you search Hong Kong, probably they also give you hotel in Shenzhen as well, right? Or give you something in Macau as well. So that's the idea. Okay. Any question? No, go to the next slide. So the second thing is very important part. I think the book spent a lot of time talking about data quality. Okay. We often in stat class, we would not talk about data quality, is because the data quality is given, the data is given to us and we just analyze, right? But when you actually put in practice, the data quality is very important, right? Because you mentioned is garbage in, garbage out, right? You cannot do good data analysis without good data. Just like cook, right? You're cooking, right? And why you have a good food is because you have good raw food, right? And I was in Singapore for many years, and I mean my wife and often complain about the Singapore food, okay? And you can see why they're not so good, because the food is not fresh. I mean, it's very difficult to get fresh seafood, very difficult to get fresh vegetable, and no matter how expensive the restaurant is, it's very difficult to taste well because they're not fresh. Same for data analysis, right? If you are unable to get a good data, analysis will not say bad. Okay? So that's very important. It's often omitted, but when you actually do research, people will question this part, right? Whether data is doing the right data, right? You answer the right question. Okay, and that's why a lot of effort is spent on getting the nice data, right? That's very important. Okay, and if you want to know more detail, I think I recommend you read the textbook, because they give you a very nice discussion to make sure that your data quality is the best, right? Of course, getting best is very costly. So what are the criteria to judge whether data is good? I think the book laid out the following 6. Okay. First, we ask, usually the data, if we actually collect by ourselves, it shouldn't be an issue, right? Because we know what we're answering, so we collect the right thing. But the problem is you're using the data collected by others, right? Or they collect for other purpose. So when you use it, you have to know what's going on, right? The first one is what the variable actually captured, right? And one important thing in economics or in business is we want to obtain the income of people, right? Because it will tell us how much money they can spend on the product, right? And a lot of time we don't have income of people. What we do is use GDP, right? But that is not a very good proxy. right? If a good proxy, if how much people make is closely related to the GDP, and oftentimes it's not, right? Income inequality, or the firm take a lot of profit, so on and so forth. So you know what's going on there, right? I'll try to pick the right thing. Second is validity, right? And is it the data, is it valid? Is it observation? Is going to be consistent over time if we try to measure the same thing again, right? Are we going to, is it data collection method is going to be a valid thing, right? Is it you're asking a random people on the street, okay, without a good incentive, right? You just ask a random people, do you like the product? I mean, probably they will not tell the truth, right? Unless they have used it, right? Or there's some reason to believe that your data is valid, right? And again, is it reliable, right? And is it going to, we repeat this survey, is it going to get the same answer, right? Or is it comparable, right? Is it using the same survey across different cities, right? If you combine data set, right? Is it going to be comparable? Or the coverage? That's one of the most important part is the data comprehensive, right? Is it going to cover a lot or going to cover only some, right? Because of if you just do the telephone survey, right? Which usually, I don't know whether you got the phone now and you got many spam call, right? You just switch off, even though legitimate thing, you just turn it off, right? So whether you're missing a lot of things is important. Okay. And missing is fine, right? Is it unbiased missing? Is it random missing or not random? That's important. Okay. So you have to judge whether the data you get is good one or not. Okay. So the next thing is I think this slide is very important in the sense that you actually how you document your work is crucially important, because if you don't do it nicely, then you have a headache. So make sure that you try to spend time on documenting your data, how it's being collected, as detailed as possible. Because you think you have good memory, but I'm pretty sure that after 3 months or more, you forget every single detail. Okay. And you should have a README TXT to tell where you get those data, where you download from, when and where you download. Okay. And you should remember what the variables are. Okay. Because usually give the short name, but you have to remember what are those. That is very important, especially combine the data, right? Of course, if you collect the data by yourself from a survey, you don't have this problem usually, right? But if you try to combine data from the government, from a census, from your own, then things can be very complicated. So how data are being collected, okay? And most of the time we would, again, this class, and then a lot of time we will rely on automated collection, which is say we use API, okay, to cut the data from World Bank or fetch data from Fred or from anywhere, right? Because of Python, right? And you can see there's many data on the web you can use API to get. Am I right? I mean, you know that, right? You covered it in summer, right? If not, then you go to the data camp and you learn. Okay. I mean, that would be fine. I mean, we don't require that, but if you want to know how to do this, that should be easy. Okay, it's not be a difficult thing, because you just type install a package, you just do it. It's not something different. Okay. And the other way around is called the risk web scraping using Python. That is something that I think you should have learned that in the summer. Will be you should use whatever beautiful soup, whatever package to try to extract data from the web. The good thing is Excel these days are very smart. Even though you don't know Python, I think they can able you to get data in this way. Okay, so even though if you are not super happy with the Python, Excel able you to download data pretty easily. So if you try to do the basic data scrapping, Excel can do it. Okay, but of course, it's not a programming class, so I don't expect you to do extensive programming. But you should be able to know if you need the data from somewhere, then you can do it. Okay. The next one is kind of we call administrative data, which is also increasingly common because of big data. Okay, and you get this data because of business operate. They got the data in doing their business, right? Suppose you get data from Amazon, Alibaba, they have data of how much they sell and price and so on and so forth. A company, they have data of the consumer, they have data of their supply chain, so on and so forth, right? All these things are there, or the government often collect data for their own purpose, right? So these are administrative data. And of course, the last one is survey, which is business or you may do, right? It's going online and complete surveys. So these are all the source of data you can collect. Okay. And one thing is, unless you're government, you do a survey, you always do sampling, right? You are never able to obtain everything you want to study. You only get part of it, right? And get part of it is called sampling. And why you are using part of the stuff, you can say things that we do not data on, right? Is we have to say the sample have to be representative, right? It's very important. There's a key that the red color one, right? You have to be representative, right? If not representative, then if the biased one, then it's a problem. Okay. So I think the textbook or the slide actually emphasize on the two ways to check whether your data is representative. The first one is you can evaluate how you collect data, right? Let me ask a question. Suppose you want to collect data, okay? We focus on CHK students, okay? It's very modest, right? And then we want to see, we want to know how many students are using Apple Pencil on their iPad, right? And then we go to, what we're going to do is we go to the railway station, okay? There's a tree there, right? Big tree there. We just stop people there, ask. Maybe during the lunchtime, we go there and ask, okay? What is this sample representative? Okay. Yes, that's a good question, right? Because we are actually selecting people who are taking the MPR. Yes, good. So basically, if they don't take the bus, they take the bus, or they walk, or they live on the other side, if they live in the campus, then we miss them, right? Or because we only collect in the lunchtime, so for people who don't take lunch, don't go there, then you miss them, right? So there's a important omission, right? So that is the thing we meet, right? So that's why look at the data process, collection process will help us to see whether the data is valid or not. Okay. And the second is very important, it's called benchmarking. Okay. And it's trying to compare the variable we collected. Is it going to be similar to the actual population we look at? All right. And one example is look at CHK. Okay. The gender ratio now I think is 60% are female and 40% are male. Okay. You look at your survey, turn out you get like not this ratio, then your data is a little bit biased. Okay? And actually, that's how the data being correct in the pool in the US, right? When they see which president you want to support, right? They collect the data whether you're Democrat, Independent, or Republican, and because the ratio, they will just reconstruct the sample such that they give more weight to Democrat. Okay? That's how currently being done, but whether right or wrong, but this is how you have to readjust the sample, give some weighting. Not every one sample is equally weighted because the sample you got is not representative of the big picture. You have to get some adjustment. Okay, so suppose we got data about iPad thing, right? And we know CHK has 60% female and 40% male. If your data is half male, half female, then you can't give the equal weighting for all the sample you have, right? You should give more weight to the female than male to the sample to be correctly reflecting what's going on there. Of course, we talk about this later, but this is the way that you have to readjust things to make sure you get the right thing. Okay. So the most ideal thing is called a random sample, right? So which means that each observation equal chance of being collected. So the thing we said, we randomly stop people in the bus station, sorry, MRT station. In the lunchtime is not good because it's not random, right? So we have to do different timing, different places. Okay. Of course, we will spend more time on the MRT station, right? Less time on the bus station, right? So on and so forth to make sure it's truly equal chance for everyone, right? So that would be some difficult tasks to handle, right? But we have to be careful, right? And sometimes when you do student project, many of the way people do it is to do a survey in the library, right? Some people study just put a form to him, say, okay, just take you 2 minutes to do it, right? And this is not random sample. Why? Have you ever studied in the library? If you do in CHK, then people will come and just put the paper, hey, help me to fill in. Do you know why this is not a random sample? Anyone? Why? Okay. Anyone want to answer that question? Why you do a survey in the library is not? Or put it this way, when this is a random sample, when it's not? Maybe a little bit more challenging question. The answer, okay, since you guys are very shy, it depends on what kind of subject we are studying. Suppose we want to study is the behavior of people who actually go to the library. There's a population to study. Then that is a right sample, right? As long as we collect during the day and the time is random, that's fine. Okay. It's not random if our focus is say on CHK student, right? Or even on the undergraduate student in Hong Kong, then it's not random, right? Because you look at only people who go to the library and only CHK library. It really depends on the scope of the study, whether it's random or not. Okay, so have to be no. And then if you really want to study is the CHK student, then you have to not just look at library, look at the canteen, look at classroom everywhere, right? But in that case, it also means people who don't come to class, right? But of course, if most of the students actually go to the classroom, then you should be fine, right? So it really depends, but that would be the goal. Okay. So I think it is one more famous. You read in a textbook, they also mentioned this as example. It said about a pool for US election, they make a very large sample and tell it's wrong. One of the reason is what they do is through telephone. Okay, and at that time, telephone is very rare stuff, right? And only the rich people or relatively rich people have a telephone. So that's why they miss those people. Large majority of people who don't have telephone, so that's why they're off. Okay, so even though they are really a random thing, but you miss a lot of things. Okay. So again, go to case study, hotel price. Okay. So the hotel price will come from the price website on specific day. So it's good, but you don't cover many things, right? Because you just one day, right? And just one time look at it, right? Suppose you look at this data many times, many period, then probably this is a good data, right? Because you don't have a peak season, a normal season, so on and so forth, right? So it's not really good because you only look at one website, but not all the website. So there's some issue. And the next one is called the billion prices project, which they're asking, they are trying to look at all of the prices in many cities, offline and online. Online, they just use the web Python to scrap data. Offline, they ask people actually go to the store to look at the prices. And this is the background. And they will try to do it in similar timing. But of course, around the world, there's some time zone difference, but I guess it's not a big thing. Okay. So probably you want to look at how to assess the data quality. Okay. And they're looking at prices, right? The price is there, the number there. So then usually it's not a problem. You collect what you collect, right? The only difficulty you don't have is whether they have a coupon hidden somewhere else, right? Or those kind of stuff, but shouldn't be a big issue, right? And the price is the available at the store, right? That can go wrong because you send some people there and they take pictures. And as I said, you don't know the discount, secret discount offered to the customer. That could go wrong. And reliability, right? And if price is for electronic product, which doesn't change price, is fine, right? But if you are collecting price for, say, fish or some vegetable, which change price accordingly, right? Maybe Hong Kong typhoon, the price goes up, right? They don't take into account, then can go wrong, right? And the rest will be very straightforward. I'm not going to go one by one. I think you can read that easily. It's very straightforward. Okay. So this is the example. And another important thing, I think probably the comparator number 4 may be a little bit interesting to mention is because they use different city and different country actually a different thing, right? It's not uniform. iPhone may be okay, but other than iPhone, maybe other electronics, different country, different brand, and different versions. So comparison can be difficult. Okay, so these are the things that you want to take care of, but I'm not going to one by one because of to save time. So here is another. Oh, sorry, I think this is case study 1C. 1C is talking about another type of big survey. Is looking at the management practice. What they do is to see whether management adopt certain practice and compare country, whether this firm have this kind of practice, good practice or not. And they try to do it is to, how to do it is to look at a scorecard, okay? Send some people there and ask the manager whether they have done or not, okay? And I'm not going into details because I don't think it's important. So the question is probably whether this kind of data is reliable or not. Okay, and you can read the details. They will tell you how they want to make sure the data is comparable. They train the student, and I think MBA student, to go to this firm and try to ask questions and try to make sure that it's double blind. Okay, the firm do not know actually someone is coming to ask this question, and the manager doesn't know actually the one who asked is actually doing a survey. Okay, so to make sure that everything is try to be good. Okay, and they asked the MBA, so that means that the one who asking actually have some management experience. Okay, so they spend a lot of effort try to make sure that the data they collect is a good quality. Okay, so this example, because it's a rather big survey over many years. Okay, I'm not going to detail because he just try to tell you stuff. Okay. Here we talk about big data. Okay. Big data, the definition, textbook is 4V. Very large data set. Okay. Means many observation, and very complex means a lot of variables, many columns. Okay. And you collect automatically, very fast. Okay. And highly accurate. Okay. But do note that big data doesn't automatically imply they're representative, right? Because there are a lot of variables that you're not there. It's omitted, right? Suppose you have a big data, say from I don't know, TikTok or Alibaba, right? But they only have the data within their control, right? If you say suppose Alibaba, right? You don't have data from Amazon, right? You don't know their competitor what's going on, right? Then you don't have a, if you try to ask the question that related to the competitor, how consumer choose their product, you don't know the competition, then you would still have omit stuff, right? So some final remark here is, if you try to collect data, there's some legal and ethical issue there, okay? Especially when you try to scrap data from some website. Some website explicitly said you can't do it, okay? You have to be very careful, especially when you go to business world, right? I mean, same in the school as well, right? Suppose you do something, it's explicitly not allowed it, you have to pay for it, all right? Otherwise, your company go into trouble, right? Same for academic, right? If you do academic thing and then go to school, I support, if do a project, if you do something illegal, then if the company sue us, we can't protect you, right? So that's, so be careful. Again, you have to make sure your data collect or you use from the other sources have to be reliable. You do the right thing, right? Just to remember, garbage in, garbage out. Okay. So I guess we should have a break of 15 minutes and come back for the chapter B. Okay. So we'll resume after 15 minutes. Hi, hi. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear? Okay, good. So, we go to chapter 2. So chapter 1, I already saw some of your classmates already reading the textbook during the break. So highly recommend you read the book because the time constraint, we can't cover every single detail. And especially you want to, with the book, you want to read the case because the case is very important to understand what's going on and give you hand-on experience. Because I think one of the main advantage of the book is they have cases compared to other books. Okay. Now we go to prepare data for analysis, and still is a conceptual framework, not really math there. So although it is relatively simple, but I think the concept or the idea there you should know, and then it is also very important. Okay, it's not technical, but it's still, you have to remember, you have to use it, I mean, in the right way. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult when you actually put the data into practice. Okay, so here is some classification of the data. Okay, although it looks something very trivial, actually same as the data structure, the type of data actually affect what kind of tools is appropriate for your purpose. Okay, so this is a classical way to characterize data type. The first one is called nominal. Okay, nominal is just a name, just a category. For example, the data is gender. Another type of data is like which school you're in, which province you are from, okay, which location or which kind of food you like, okay, or whether you are married, you have a kid, so on and so forth, right? These are data, but when you record this data, usually you assign number there, right? But the number there has no meaning, okay? And that means that when you do operation like addition, subtraction, you do average, you do mean, standard deviation, all these are meaningless, right? And that means that when you try to analyze them, okay, tools will be different from the case where the number is meaningful. You have to be very careful when you look at data. You have to know what data it is. And tools apply to different type of data is different. Okay. And a binary data, right? Whether you have kid or not, right? Whether you're a smoker or not, whether you drink or not, whether you drink coffee or not, whether you're using iPad or not iPad, right? And these are CO1, right? And CO1, later we say probability variable. When you model those, you need different type of tools. Okay, so have to be very in mind, very different. And second is ordinal data. Ordinal data is also very tricky, right? Because ordinal data, often you have numbers in it, like star of the hotel we just saw, right? Or rating by consumer. Okay, and only order matters, which means that the larger number usually better or some meaning, right? But these things order matter, and addition subtraction actually has no meaning, right? Suppose you have a 4-star hotel and 5-star hotel and 6-star hotel or 3-star hotel, right? Difference between this hotel 1 star, right? But the difference between these star hotel very different, right? 3-star and 4-star are very different. 4-star and 5-star is very different as well. Price also, right? And customer rating, right? Oftentimes you see the data present to you is average, right? You go to some restaurant with your classmate in Sartine, right? How you pick restaurant, look at the rating in, I don't know, Open Rice, other thing. They usually give you the average, right? But do remember that average in those contexts are pretty much not too meaningful, right? Because 5-star to you and to me can be different, right? But 5-star to one guy, 4-star is no absolute scale. And that means the average thing is not too much meaningful. In that case, maybe median would be more meaningful thing, right? So it actually affect how you do analysis. And you do regression, all those kind of things, have ordinal data is very different. Okay. I don't know if the time we cover in our basic classes, but with most of the data we handle is interval or ratio. Okay. But of course, you can still apply what we learned to ordinal data, but with some caveat, there's some issue there. Okay. And if you need to use a more advanced tools. Okay. If you actually apply things in practice, maybe in our class we're okay. We can bear with it. You put some caveat there. But when you go out, we actually put in practice. You need to be very careful. I mean, some tools only apply for some data type. Okay. So I hope I convey this message very clearly. That's why we need to have this slide up front. Okay. And the different interval data and ratio data. Interval data means difference do matter. As I said, right? 3-star and 4-star is 1 star different. 4-star and 5-star 1 star different, but the difference is not there, right? There's no meaning, right? And ratio data is particular, also zero matters. Okay. But usually you don't distinguish the last two. Usually they just call cardinal data. Okay. The data, the difference makes most sense. Money is a cardinal thing, right? So $1 and $2 and $2 and $3, the difference, that's meaningful. And 0 is meaningful. So don't worry, most of the data you have is ratio data for business, right? But sometimes you have category data like gender, where you are from, right? And these two are sometimes there, but not quite often. But when you handle big data, many columns, you must have one of those, right? So there's no way to escape. But let's try to emphasize, do very careful with your data type. Have to know what it is, okay? And you can make a mistake. Okay. And this topic, chapter 2, is about data wrangling. And basically, it consists of 2 different steps. The first step is you have to understand the data and store in an appropriate way. Okay, the storage is important. Okay, and we'll in particular focus on one type of storage we call tidy approach. Okay, and if you learn R, you notice that there's a very big set of packages called tidy manner. Okay, and they store data in a particular way, and they handle a particular way. So later we'll define the tidy approach. And after this, we talk about some issue about data cleaning. Okay, and actually this thing usually you don't talk in stat class. Assume you learn by yourself. Okay, but I think this book very good is they put it up front. It's very careful. This is very important, and it's very important for a group project. Okay, because even though you download the data from some website, you use it, you still have to face this problem, especially when you combine data from multiple sources. This is very important. Okay, so here we'll start these steps one by one. Okay, and what is tidy data approach? Okay, tidy data approach means that is as I said beginning, right? It's a Excel idea. Okay, but with particular structure is each row is an observation. Okay, and each column is a variable type. Okay, and in particular, the most important part is each observations. Okay, each type of observation is a table. Okay, you will not combine different type of observation into different tables. So you can see the one I construct is follow a tidy approach. I have quiz on one tab, exam on the other, right? If you are not follow tidy, you would put everything into one single sheet, right? I have a quiz, so if I have this, okay, and an exam, then it's not tidy. Okay, I usually to collect everything similar on the same spreadsheet. Is that clear? And the reason why this is to make your organization very clean, right? You know this tab is for this one tab, you don't have to think. Okay. And the next thing is each observation has a unique ID. Okay. Actually, I have there, but it's not quite there yet because here I have student. Okay. And usually maybe there are multiple chain, multiple junk, right? So usually you would use student ID as a first column. Okay. Then you would be the best. So that's why if I really want to be good, then I would be say okay. Then sorry, I should have same number there. Okay. And in this case, it's a tidy style. Okay. And then you would better to make your data in the tidy style. Okay. That was the approach recommended by the book. Okay. You need not follow everything is tidy style, but try to follow as close as possible because it has been shown this is the most efficient way to handle your thing. Okay. You just basically everything is in the manageable way. Okay. And here I have quiz 1 and quiz 2, right? And indeed, you can do the other way around. You can also have tab quiz 1 and quiz 2. That is maybe even better. Okay, because depends on what you consider was observation, right? So how small you go, the smaller you go, the more easy to manage. Because now these days the storage is not an issue. In old days, probably you have to worry about the memory thing, but now I think the memory is so cheap, so you just do things as clean, as tidy, as smallest, break down in the smallest part, then it's the easiest. Is that okay? So this is tidy approach. So this is the tidy approach when you talk about the hotel price. Okay, this hotel price has each row is by ID, right? And each column is going to tell us for this ID the price and distance. Okay, of course, she can have a tab just price or the tab just distance, but sometimes you don't need to break down so small, right? You can put them on the different columns to define. Okay, as long as the question is how many tables you want, right? I mean, of course, up to your judgment, right? But tidy approach means each row is one observation. Okay, you can create as many tables as you want, as many columns as you want, but make sure that each observation it has a unique ID. That's the important thing. And then you can collect different tables. So that's the idea. Okay. So here is, as I mentioned, right? XT is cross-section time series panel data. As I said, this is the most common thing you will face when you work these days, right? And it's multidimensional in the sense that because XT data is you have observation of different units over time, right? And that means that to present a data is rather complicated. Okay, in the data we do usually you have two different types. It's called the long format or wide format. Okay, and you notice every data software will enable you to swap between wide and long by what we call the reshape function. Use R or Python or Stata have this kind of function. And when you store data, usually you store in the long format. Okay, and when you run the regression, you will be in the wide format. Okay, so let me repeat. Okay, the data you download from the web or use to store, you should store in the long format. When you do your analysis, for convenience, you will be doing the wide format. Okay, long is for keep the data, wide for analysis. Okay? Because wide format means you would try to compact everything in the single table that will enable you to run the regression or do analysis. Okay. So let's see the following case, then you will understand what is long and wide. Okay. And this is the data they download from the World Bank Development Indicator, talk about how country stuff. Okay. So this is the wide format, easy to read and easy to run analysis. Okay. It's the data probably you will be preparing when you do analysis later. Okay. The data you see is each row is a unique ID because country is a unique ID. Okay. And you have combining immunization record and GDP per capita as different column, right? And this is a wide format, right? And because this is a observational unit is each country per year, right? So you should, this is not a long format, okay? Because usually this is the observation over time, right? So you should be, the long format will be like this, right? Because each observational unit is country year. Is that clear? So instead of this is the format that usually you download from the internet, right? And you have to convert this long format to the format we have, the wide format, all the time, run the regression. Okay. Of course, sometime now I think the software is very smart. Even if you do this, they can still run. This one is good for presentation. But as I said, you can check the DataCamp or any other online software that how to convert this to the that's using the reshape function in R or Python. Reshape RESHAPE, then you can do it. Okay, it's not something difficult. Okay. So the tidy data approach means that you would try to break down the data set into many, many tables, right? Because each table we have a focus on one stuff, right? Because otherwise you have very long Y table. So as I see in the Excel, right? We have exam, so one table, right? Quiz, another table, right? So, and at the end of the day, right? At the end of the semester, I would have to combine everything and give grade based on the total performance, right? So I have to combine them. So you need to know how to combine them. Is easiest ways you have to make sure that your tables are connected nicely. Okay, so that is called the relational database, which means that each table make up row and column, and there's a record with ID, right? So basically, it's a tidy table and combined together, right? So what I have in Excel here is actually the database, right? Because suppose I have this, and let me do it here, maybe exam like this, right? Maybe multiple choice, long question, right? So in this case, I'm not saying that my exam have MCQ or long question, okay? Just example only, okay? So, and with each table, you have a ID here, and you can connect to the other one, right? So that is what we call the relational table, okay? And then that is the way, okay? This is what it means, okay? Each column have a unique ID, and you link to the other one. Is that clear? Okay. And in the old days, probably still do it, is Excel is for handle each table, each data, right? And then you can connect each different table by using the Microsoft Access or Oracle or other database software. But for our purpose, I think you will just use the Python or basically mainly Python to connect everything, because Python is particularly good for combining data set. Okay. R is good for handle the data cleaning, but when you have a lot of data to combine different sources, I think you use Python, and I think you learn it from the summer, shouldn't be an issue. I think some of you are smiling, so we're happy with the summer Python class, I guess. I assume. So here is the football manager data. Okay. So what the case study is about is they try to see which football manager in the English Premiership try to see who get the best score, net score. Okay. So the data they come from come from the football data, the website. Okay. And each observation is a single game. Okay. So you will have to define what do you mean by each observation. This is your choice. Okay. And the key variables are the game. Maybe easier to look at the table, right? The game is like this. Okay. Each observation unit is a game, which is home team, away team, how many goals they have. Okay. So this is the one way to do it, is one way of the data. Okay. But this is a tidy table, right? This is an ID and it's one observation unit. But this is not the only way to do it, right? If you notice, the other way is like this. Okay. Each game, okay, we have team and opponent, okay, and who is opponent, home or away. So if your data is in this way, it means that each game could have two entries, right? Because depend on your home, your away, right? Depends on how you model. You said, right? You tries as many rows as original table, right? Because if you are home and say, in this one, right? It depends on your home, your away, right? Because look at this one. The first row and the fourth row are exactly the same, but swapping stuff, right? So that means that if you look at this data, be careful. If you try to convert this data, okay, work on it directly without removing duplicate, you have a problem, right? Because you double count things, right? So you have to be especially the data is large. If you're not careful, it can have an issue. Especially when data download from web, it can be in some year they do this, other year they do other way around. So you don't know, you have to be very close to check. Okay, so that means that even we have tidy data approach, it still have to be very careful. Okay, and you may ask, is this better or the other one better? Up to you. I think the one that have less row is better. If I ask me whether I like this guy or I like this guy, okay. But sometimes you might have to construct data in this way, right? Because when you try to focus on the team, maybe because you do it team by team, right? And you can focus on one column and do things that will be easier, right? Sometimes you have to convert the data from that one to this one to do effective analysis. So I can't tell you when you do what, but you have to be careful what you're doing. Okay, sounds very abstract and vague and empty, but I mean that is what it is. Okay. So here, I already said about that. The next one is the one table is about the game, because they want to look at the question is what? Look at the best manager, right? So you look at how the manager data, right? Look at which team is doing, is coached by which manager, right? So the data will be like this, okay? The data will be by manager, right? And time, right? And you can see this data is not year by year, right? From when to when, right? So in order to map this data, measure the team's data, you need to work out some programming, right? It's not directly you can map. Okay, it's not if we have each day, right? We have which manager, which team, then it's easy to map, right? But we only have this kind of very condensed data, right? You have to make sure that from this period, right, and map to which game, right? So you have to do some programming, okay? And remember, every case study, how they clean the code already in the website, you can download and check how they do it, okay? And then by then you can learn how to do things, okay? I'm not covering that here, but doing this kind of matching, you will have a lot of work, okay? And cleaning data and make them for ready usually take you more than 70% of the time, okay? And only 10 to 20% you actually do analysis, okay? The most of time you spend is to clean the data in the way that it can be analyzed, okay? And as I said, because different data table, actually you can't easily match it, right? Because remember, you have to, if you try to match the manager, you do match time and the club with the guy, right? So there's no unique ID to map. You have to create an ID to map. Okay, so so that means that you have to handle in some way, which there's smart way, there's stupid way, there's fast way, there's slow way. So but I think you can figure out how to do it. Okay, and there are many. I just follow textbook. They would define the 1-to-1, M-to-1, 1-to-M, M-to-M. Why? Because they follow the idea of the R and Python coding. When they combine database, there are different syntax, depends on which one-to-one matching or M-to-M matching. Okay, probably you ask what is one-to-one matching. Okay, one-to-one matching is you have two data table. Okay, in this case, this is a one-to-one matching because I combine exam and the quiz, right? Everything is one-to-one, right? Each entry here map to the other entry there is one-to-one, right? And when it's one-to-M or M-to-M, right? Here is, if you consider mapping football team and football player is M-to-1, right? Because one football team have many players. And when it's M-to-M, it's football team and coaches. Why? Because manager move around, right? And then coach A work for team A for some period of time and work for team B and work for team A again, maybe, right? And that means that there will be multiple matching there. Okay, and whether you need to know this name, you actually have to know it because there will be different type of joining database according to use R or Python or Stata. It's M-to-1 matching or one-to-one matching or M-to-M matching. Okay, and you will know it when you actually work on it. Okay? I'm not worried about you don't know it. You have to know it because you have to write down the code and to write in this way, otherwise you can't match. Okay. So here is the example. They try to map the managers to the data. Okay. And you can try to see how they merge. Okay, because look at, I'm not going into detail here. If you are interested in, you should try to look at the program they do, whether you load out Python or Stata. Okay, go to their website, download the data, and see how they work it out. Okay, I'm not going into detail here because it really depends on what kind of software you like. But if you're interested in, let me know. We can go over in the class. But I guess the time is better spent at going over the concept rather than going to the program. Okay. So this is the result I have. Okay. Look at data. At the end, they combine, they clean everything. This is the data you have. And okay. And you can see who is the best coach, right? Okay. This is the thing. And they notice, you can see there's a yellow thing. Okay. The yellow thing, I think, is these are the substitute manager, and they don't coach enough games. So you should focus on the blue one instead of the yellow one. So that is they don't coach many games, so it's not representative. So if you want to look at the good manager, they look at the blue one. Okay. So that is the idea. Okay. Now, finally, we talk about data cleaning, which has many things to say, but you really just practice makes perfect. You work on it, then you know. Okay. The first one is entity resolution. It's because data you don't know, a lot of time they have duplicates. Okay. It's not where you have seen the database have mistake. Even the data, say you're supposed to buy data from, say, Bloomberg or even financial data from Bloomberg or from Thomson Reuters, they also have data problem. Okay. And sometimes you have no unique ID, right? Especially the data you get from the web. Okay. And the web may not have consistent when you have different database. Okay. And you have non-entity rows, which means that you contain data that is not belong to the scope of the study, right? Suppose you download data from the soccer, you only care about the UK thing, right? Maybe the data also have some US or some France or other leagues. You have to take it out. Okay. And missing value, well, missing value also a big thing. And how to handle it is a big thing, because suppose you try to collect a survey, you have 10 questions. Some guy only have 9 questions answer. Last question is missing. What are you going to do? Okay, very often you see this thing. There are several ways to do it, but for our purpose, practical purpose is if the data is not complete, just drop. Okay, of course, if you learn machine learning, which you will do some of it, is you can use machine learning to fill up the gap. But the book said, which I agree, you should not do it unless you know what you're doing. Okay, unless your boss tells you to do it, then you may do it, but don't initiate that because you don't know what's going on there, right? So that's I do when I do research. Also the same. It's just like if things that I don't know, I'm missing data, I just skip. Okay. Okay. And that is the example of entity resolution. It's because original name is like you can be from data can be recorded in this way, right? Because why your data like this? Because maybe different people work on data over the year can be different, right? Some people, this guy work on it, this guy resigned, and the other one, they use different things. So you have to make sure that you use the same collector, make sure the ID is the same. Okay, that's why the book recommend instead of the name, use the number. They're never ambiguous. Okay, and if you use R or whatever, R or Python, the string variable can change to factor variable, and then can check, right? You never have a problem, right? So, but anyway. So here, finally, is the common steps for data wrangling, right? So you make sure that you try to write the code to clean the data. That's very important. Don't use Excel to clean your data because you don't know what you have done. Okay, try to use the code. No matter use Stata, R, or Python, try to use code because you don't want to touch anything about the raw data. Okay, that's very important. And the second one is understand data and draw the table how they're related. Okay, that is something you do it learning by doing. And the third one would be more important is try to look at the data and see whether data have good quality, especially download data from other places. And probably next week we talk about summary statistics. We look at the mean, variance, mode, range, whether you see some weird thing happen. Draw some histogram, try to make sure the data fit what you know about the data. Okay, and then have the right description. Make sure that the missing data are handled. And last one is very important. Make sure you document how you do it. Okay, you write the software, that's not a problem, right? You write the software to clean, right? So that means that you document already, but of course you have to write down why you do it. Okay, document carefully, and I expect you to document carefully when you do your group project as well. Okay, because a good practice requires good habit. Lastly, they tell you how you should organize your file and folder. Okay, and this is the way that the textbook they order. Okay, the first one, the README file, and you have raw data, CSV and XLS, and then the cleanup, the do file, R file. Okay, and they can store at the end. The DTA is a data file. They store it, and then these are the analysis file, right? They store how to analyze the data. So this is the good way to handle your folder, especially store it somewhere, and when you especially work with your classmates, it's very important to make sure that everything is well managed. And finally, I think that's very, very important, especially work with others. Okay, you work with yourself is always good, but with others, make sure that you name your file in the right way. Don't use space. Don't use capital letters. Always use lowercase. Okay, and don't use punctuation or accent letter. You can use hyphen or underscore. Sorry, typo here. Underscore. And why? Because make it you can read, understand what's going on. The final name, right? Don't use data 1, data 2, data today, data V2. No, don't use that. make sure that you try to date your file. Say data file at when is very important. And dates, use the ISO format, YYMMDD. Okay. And if you have number, if 2, we put CO2, and then you sort easily. Okay. These things are very important. And you may not notice when you work on project in small scale. When you work on a project big scale, this habit will save you a lot of time. Okay. So I guess it's just in time. We finish our class with 2 minutes or 1 over, but I think it's okay. So that's the end. Any question? I think you guys are hurrying for the lunch to grab a pace. If you have a question, you can ask me in the next class if you have any. I'll see you next Friday. It'll be afternoon, so you don't need to get up that early. Okay, enjoy.